she had it with her. She says, is that true with an I or a Y?
I'll call the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. The first application we have today is 2024-035. It is from Clear Channel Outdoor LLC, and the request for is I-1 Light Industrial District to I-1C Light Industrial District with a conditional use permit for off-premise commercial advertising sign, digital, with 2 variances to reduce the maximum height and the area of the signs. The location for this application is the 2.3 acre tract located on the east side of US Route 14, approximately 2,960 feet southeast of the intersection of US Route 14 and Washington Street, with a common address of 500 Magnet Way, Woodstock, in Heartland Township. I'll have the members of the zoning board introduce themselves by township, starting on my left.
Mary Donner, Greenwood Township.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charles Eldridge, Richmond Township.
I'm Linnea Kustra in Alden Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nanda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Thomas Jers, Coral Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated July 27, 2024, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting signed and the date posted was July 29, 2024. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was July 25, 2024. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all 3 match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received.
Madam Chairman, point of information. The petition report says that it is to reduce, variances are to reduce the height and size. In fact, the petition is to increase the height and size permitted above what is permitted.
Yeah, it's incorrect in the staff report as well. Yeah. All right, thank you for that clarification. So the way the hearing works is you give your testimony, we'll ask you questions, and then staff will ask you questions, and you have a chance for a closing statement. So anybody who's going to speak now, I would swear you in. I've got to get my cheat sheet.
Would you like us to stand?
No. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I do. Okay. All right, so you go ahead and start your presentation. Please identify yourself and your position.
My name is Scott Hanyon. I'm with Clear Channel Outdoor. I'm a real estate representative with our company. And as noted, today we are requesting or seeking a variance to a condition that is regarding the height and size of a billboard that it's an existing structure that we're looking to convert one side to a digital structure and leave the other side as a static structure. We are not adjusting the current height, and actually we're leaving it exactly the same. And the size of the billboard, the digital one is slightly bigger than the static one, and that is the reason for the request for that variation as well. But in essence, it is around the exact same size. It's 10 by 12, or 12 by 12, to be honest with you. So it's, I don't really have a whole lot on it. Presentation-wise, or do you want to add anything?
No, we're not. Sorry, my name is Eddie Brunel. I'm also working the real estate team with the Clear Channel. This is our baby together. We're not changing any of the power supply. We're not doing any additional digging. There's unlike a typical structure where you'd have maybe utility, water supply, gas. You know, we're not doing anything that's going to be changing the topography, the landscape. Our sign is going to have no further effect, if it has any, now on the farmland that's there currently. So that there's really not a whole lot other than changing the getting it a variance for the height and the square footage of the structure, which again are going to be as they are today for both locations.
There are several standards you need to address in the hearing under our ordinance. One will be generally for the conditional use, one is for the off-premise advertising sign, and one for the variations. For the off-premise commercial advertising sign, do they need to go through each individual thing specifically, or?
You can either have them do that, or if you would prefer to have them introduce the written testimony as fact, you can do that. That's an option.
Have all the board members had a chance to read their application? Okay. All right, so if you're happy with that, we will just incorporate do I have to do by motion?
No.
Okay, so we'll just incorporate the standards for the commercial advertising sign that you addressed in your application.
Thank you.
I would like you just to address the variations. Just to kind of go through those just briefly as to why you're requesting those variations. You're basically wanting to be grandfathered in, correct, because of the size you already have.
Yes.
So here's the standards on the screen. I just want to go through those. That'd be great.
So, question one, our rebuttal to that statement was due to the fact that our conditional use does not require the erection of a building or the other new structure, infrastructure, utility services, etc. Many of the standards laid out in 16.56 and 16.60 do not apply. A couple of standards which our new digital screen will need to comply pertain to the setback and the lighting regulations, which they do. The upgrade to the existing sign will comply with all standards that have been approved prior to previously set forth by the village. So like we mentioned, not changing the height at all. That was already approved by you all many, many years ago. We're not changing the size other than your variation that was set forth not too long ago. The sign will continue to comply with the setback requirements of the village. The lighting of the new digital sign will be in strict compliance with regulations set forth by the Outdoor Advertising Association of America, the OAAA, which is who we apply to.
Are you doing the ones if this is for section 16.20.020?
Yes,
Okay.
16.02.
All right, I just want to make sure.
You're doing the
We
conditional.
incorporated the ones from 16.56.
There we go. I apologize.
That's okay. We'll make it quicker for you.
Yes. Significantly. Variation 16.56.030E.4, as it currently states, requires a maximum height of 35 feet from the grade of the road. This will not allow for any of the changes of our existing sign structure. Our current structure and proposed structure height is 42 feet. The sign was constructed in 1999 prior to the variation code being written, and we are requesting a variation to this code permitting the sign to remain at its current height of 42 feet. There is no hardship to the property owner based on these conditions. Variance 16.56030 states that the total square footage of the sign may not exceed 260 square feet. To summarize, our sign is 288 square feet. The same size as its current sign is on the property right now. In regard to the surrounding shape or topographic conditions of the property, there is no hardship, and the property will remain unchanged. How do we describe how is the hardship described in question one unique to the property and not applicable to all properties in the same building area? Both these variances do not apply to all the properties because not all properties have outdoor signs on them or billboards on that property. Other than increased monetary gain, what is the purpose of the variation? Variation is not changing from what the current height is. However, the height is currently no longer within code. We're requesting the variation to the code to allow for the current height of the sign to remain the same. A variation to the code of 1656030EE.5 will allow for an upgrade and a more modern sign to the structure while keeping its current size 288 square feet. This will allow for better visibility, less maintenance in the long term, and since the square footage is considered over the code, we are requesting that variation. Number 4, did the property owner or past owner create the difficulty or hardship with the variation? The variation 16.56030EE.4 and 5 were created many years after the sign was built on the property. Due to that, the current or past property owner did not create this difficulty or hardship we seek a variation of, but rather changing to the zoning codes a few years ago is what did so. Number 5, will the variation be detrimental to the public welfare or interest to the people or property? Exceptions to the height of the sign and to the maximum square footage will not be detrimental to the public interest or other property or improvements in the neighborhood because they are not changing from what they currently are, aside from being converted from static to digital. Will the variation impair or adequately supply of light and air adjacent property, increase the congestion on the public streets, increase the risk of fire to adjacent properties, substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood? Granting a variance to this code will not impact the supply of light or air of the current and adjacent properties. The variation to this code will not pose a risk of any fire to neighboring properties, nor will the variation diminish the value of any properties surrounding it. In both cases, there's not a lot surrounding properties in each of these. Will the variation confer special privilege to the property owner that is denied to other owners with property of the same zoning? Property owners who currently have a billboard or outdoor sign and who are looking to upgrade that sign would apply for the same zoning variations. They would require to go through the same process for approving a variation to these codes, both the height of the sign and the square footage of the sign, and therefore should they want to have the changes done to these signs. Property owners without signs on their property would not need to go through the zoning variation request and therefore would not have to endure the process or go through the formality.
Okay. And we're incorporating the approval standards for conditional use that you also have listed in your application. So I'll go to questions. Mary?
Have there been, that's one person. So I've been out there. It's in the middle of nowhere, except there's an industrial park on the one piece of property that's fairly far away. That's the very first one.
Yes.
Have there been any objections? There appears to be a house on that cul-de-sac or some kind of a business office. So nobody has come up with any objections.
Okay.
And you're doing this because of the upgrade to a digital sign?
Correct. One side of it, yes.
One side, only one side, okay,
For now, yeah. We're building a network
okay,
around the Chicagoland area,
Sure.
and this is one of the starting points.
okay.
And hopefully it's going to encompass more.
We may be coming back for,
On
For a
the other
second.
side.
if it makes sense. Obviously,
Yes.
there's some, monetary
Well, there's
value
some,
value
sure,
to that.
some
And-
business decisions to
Yeah,
be
yes.
made, but that's not germane at the moment. I just was
Right.
surprised to hear it's only gonna be on one side, so thank you, no, that's all I have for questions.
Thank you. Which face, in terms of the travel direction on US 14, would be the one with the digital? Westbound or eastbound?
Pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it's the westbound. Yes.
So leaving Cary coming into Crystal Lake.
No, leaving Woodstock.
It's
I'm
not-
sorry, I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, leaving Crystal Lake coming into Woodstock.
There you go. Do you already have a digital sign in McHenry County?
This is the
This
first
is
one.
our first one.
This is your first one? How many signs do you own in McHenry County?
Offhand,
I would say probably 50 or 60.
yeah.
50 or 60 that should presently exist?
Yeah.
And they're all non-digital?
Correct, yeah. And our operations team, they love driving all the way up here from the city.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful.
this is another reason is that we could maybe cut down on some of the
Costs.
visits, some of the travel, because we can do a lot of the digital work remotely. Not to say that we're planning on converting 50 signs out here to digital, but this is the start of maybe a small network, and perhaps maybe there's reduction of signs in the future, just in general.
Do you own the underlying property or do you leasehold?
We are not, in these cases, we're lease, we're the tenant. We usually are the tenant. We do own or have easements on some of our
Could you
portfolio.
speak up a little bit?
We lease both these properties in question. In general, our portfolio, we probably are a tenant 99% of the time. Sometimes we own or we have easements that we own on our properties where we operate signs, but most of the time we're a tenant.
Since you offered, how long is your general leasehold on the property?
In this particular, well, most of the time when we have a digital unit, it's a minimum of 10 years. Some can go longer than that.
And the reason for that is the life of the structure of the panel is usually 10 years.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we have at least runway to operate that sign to its full potential, which is 10 years of useful life.
During the time of your ownership since 1999, did you receive any notice that the sign in its present condition was non-conforming?
Not that I'm aware of, but I've only been with the company for 2.5 years now. So if there was something that was sent to us, I don't recall anything being in our physical files or uploaded in our system anywhere. So, but that question has been brought to our attention in other municipalities as well, and there's no evidence there either. So it's not uncommon, I guess.
Thank you. That concludes my questions.
Mr. Alger?
I have no questions.
Well, you kind of answered one of my questions, like why only one side, but you are planning in the future possibly doing the second side.
Yes.
No, it makes sense, okay. Is the existing sign now lighted?
It has a light, yes.
Okay, and is that light on both sides of it?
Yes.
And you're gonna eliminate the light on the LED side? Or are you gonna keep it?
They're gonna convert that power to light the LED, yes. They're
Okay.
gonna use the existing power that is on the structure to light it.
Okay, so the sign itself will be the light, there will be no additional lighting on that side?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Schnabel?
I have no questions.
Mr. Churs?
I also have no questions.
And I just want to clarify, this property is heading west. It would be on the west side of Woodstock heading to Harvard. So this is very western McKinley County. And I have no other questions as well. How about staff?
No questions.
Okay. You have a closing statement on this?
Aside from we appreciate the opportunity to present this in front of you all, no, that's about it. I don't really have anything. Do you have anything?
No, I would just echo the sentiments that, Scott and I are in front of city councils and various boards, and we do this probably a couple times a month. And whatever the outcome is, regardless, it's been a pleasure. Anna has been particularly helpful just in kind of guiding us along, because every process is different. As much experience as we have dealing with Maywood or Broadview or Gurnee or you name it, it's never the same. And to have somebody inside that, is kind of at least helping us make sure we have everything complete and we're kind of dotting our I's and crossing our T's, it certainly makes our job better, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move into the voting portion of the hearing.
Did you want a staff report?
Oh, I do. Yes, I do.
Because I know that at least one board member had questions that.
Yes, I'm
deserve some
sorry, I
answers as
forgot
well.
about that.
So, okay. I appreciate the applicant indicating that I was crossing Ts and dotting Is, but unfortunately I did miss a few Is and Ts in my initial report for this particular site. In my current land use and zoning analysis, I do cut and paste, and I inadvertently left out references to Cary. So I'm going to read into the record the correct statement for this particular property. The subject property is currently improved with an existing billboard sign in the I-1 Light Industrial District. The land uses of the adjoining properties are industrial to the east, vacant to the north, and single-family residential to the west and south. The properties to the north and east are currently zoned I-1 Light Industrial. Properties to the west and south are zoned A1 Industrial. So some of the questions that had been posed to staff, if a variance was not requested, would either petition be permitted in your zoning district as a matter of right? The variance is not what is triggering bringing this to this board today. If it was just variances, it would go to the hearing officer. What is bringing it to this board today is the fact that it is digital signs. Digital signs require conditional use permits. So that's what brought it to this board today. So no, they are not allowed by right. Has the county approved a height variance as high or even higher than requested by the petitioner? I am not aware of any request that is higher than this. We did a quick search of our records today. I don't know that I can say with confidence that we have anything as high as this either. It appears that the building permit that was issued in the late 1990s may have been compliant with the regulations at that time. So I would imagine that if there are other signs that want to convert to digital, that want to maintain the same structure, that you may see similar requests in terms of height variances going forward in the future. And then in terms of this particular request, given the proximity of the billboard to US State Route 14, has the petitioner filed a statement of compliance or intent to comply with the standards by IDOT for such signage? I personally am not aware of that. However, that would be a question for the applicant.
Yes. We are waiting for IDOT's approval for both the structures, to be honest with you.
And you in fact cannot convert it to digital unless you receive that
Correct.
approval.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Which we anticipate that
Yeah.
happening, but
we can't do, we need both of them.
yep.
Yeah.
One or the other doesn't help us.
Unless there are further questions, that concludes my report.
Questions?
Thank you. Did Woodstock or any other governmental entity file
No.
Just for sure. Let's see what question.
Any other questions by members of the board? All right, I apologize for my. And it was a very important information that you provided for us, so thank you so much. So at this time, then, we will close the hearing portion and move to the voting portion on this petition. I would entertain a motion.
We've got to do the conditions.
So you want a motion to accept the conditions?
Let me read the conditions. I'm looking for them. This.
Page 4.
I don't have the whole packet. Here. Okay.
There's three.
Okay, number 1, the time limit for this conditional use permit shall be 10 years from the date of approval by the McHenry County Board. Number 2, the construction of an off-premises commercial advertising sign shall be in substantial conformance with the attached plat of survey prepared by Vanderstappen and Land Surveying Incorporated, dated February 1, 2024. And number 3, all other federal, state, and local laws shall be met. Are there any other proposed conditions?
Madam Chairman, I propose adoption of the conditions as presented.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Mr. Eldridge, second by Ms. Gartner to approve the conditions. Any discussion? You'll call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gartner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Jers?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so the conditions are approved 7-0. at this
Madam
time?
Chairman, I move acceptance of the petition and both the conditional use and the variances subject to the conditions.
Second.
It's been moved by Mr. Eldridge and seconded by Ms. Donner to approve this petition. And again, the variation is to expand the maximum height and area of the signs. So discussion, Mr. Eldridge.
Yes, with regard to the conditional use, I don't know why there wasn't a conditional use there in the first place. It may have been that that was not required in the industrial zoning at the time that the sign was originally erected. In any case, I think this is an appropriate location for such a facility. It has been there without a problem, and there's are no people here that have anything to object to. With regard to the variances, if this was a change to the existing structure, I would oppose these variations because I see no reason to give somebody something better than other people have. But since all they're asking for is to maintain what exists and has existed for 25 years, I will support the variations. And therefore, I will support both the conditional use and the variations.
Ms. Gardner.
I always liked the digital signs personally. I think that they don't cast as much light as the standard billboards with the lights glaring down. And I actually would like to see more in our county. There's no reason to oppose this. I think it is an improvement actually, so I'm in favor.
Mr. Cozen.
I have no comment.
Mr. Schnabel.
I agree with what's been said.
Mr. Jers.
I agree with Kurt.
And I agree.
Mary.
Don't forget.
Oh, yeah, Mary's at the bottom, yeah. Sorry, Mary. I'm sorry.
That's okay. A digital sign was once brought before the county board years and years ago, very near breakers, but outside the city limits of Crystal Lake. And Crystal Lake didn't want it there, and so apparently one never went in. There is a sign on the corner of Bull Valley Road and 31 that is not intrusive. I mean, it's there and you want to read it. You might not get the fastest start when you're leaving, when the light turns green, but you want to see it and it's good. I like to see that we're coming into the 21st century and this looks like a good way to do it. I have no objections.
And I would have an objection to the variation if this had not been in this size in its current form for 25 years, because again, we have the size in our ordinance for a reason, and it's not obtrusive and not too tall. But the fact that this has been here for 25 years at the current size and it's just going to digital, I feel like that the ordinance is, what's creating a hardship for you. So I'm in favor of the request. So I will call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge.
Yes.
Ms. Gardner.
Yes.
Mr. Cozen.
Yes?
Mr. Schnabel.
Yes.
Mr. Jers.
Yes.
Ms. Donner.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So this is approved 7-0. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next petition. This is number 2024-036. Again, the applicant is Clear Channel Outdoor LLC. The request is for an I-2 heavy industrial district to I-2 CV heavy industrial district with a conditional use permit for off-premise commercial advertising sign digital with 2 variances increasing the maximum height and area of the sign. The location is 1,050 square feet tract located on the south side of US Route 20, which is West Grant Highway. approximately 940 feet west of Burma Road in Marengo Township. The PIN number for this application is 11-31-200-009. This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated July 27, 2024. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was July 29, 2024. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was July 25, 2024. All meeting ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. Filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. That is NRI L24-046-4602. Again, we'll swear anyone in that will be giving testimony. You affirm that the testimony you'll give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I
Thank
do.
you.
Okay. I'll turn it over to the petitioner for your testimony.
Similar type of situation, this one's east facing.
Yes.
This variation is also for the height and for the width, or the square footage of the sign located at this property. The sign that we are looking to convert from digital to static is the east-facing sign on this structure. And once again, we're not changing anything to do with the surrounding area or where the sign is sitting. We're only taking it and replacing the existing static billboard structure with the digital.
And in your packet, in your answers to the questions for the approval standards for the off-premise commercial advertising sign, for the variation, and for the conditional use itself,
Yes.
are your answers all the same?
Yes.
So we will incorporate those into this hearing as well. So at this time, I will start with questions, starting on my left, Ms. Nunn.
None, thank you.
Mr. Cozen.
Did we hear anything from Marengo or State?
You're asking the
I'm
applicant.
sorry.
My guess is because it's in the cornfield, that there's not a whole lot of complaints about it, per se.
No other questions, thank you.
Mr. Eldridge.
I have no questions.
Ms. Gardner.
This is also a two-sided sign, and you're only doing one side, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Same as the other one. Oh, that's it. Thanks.
Mr. Schnabel.
No questions.
Mr.
No
Chair.
questions.
We'll go to the staff report. Catching on. Ms. Kurtzman, please.
Okay, so the CUP area is actually a very small, I don't know that I've ever had a CUP area as small as this, as it is encompassing just the footprint of the sign itself. It is in the middle of a cornfield. There are other billboard signs in the area there. And I do need to make certain that the minimum distance between the signs is at least 300 feet, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The zoning of the property is I2, heavy industrial. The current land use is agricultural of the area there. Route 20 is a very heavily traveled road. It was very fun to be out there to take my photographs. So
And this isn't very far from the Boone County line.
no, it is not. It's very close. In anticipation of Mr. Cosen's question, no, staff has not received any comments from anybody on this particular application. That concludes my report.
Anyone have any questions for staff? Do you have a closing statement?
Thank you once again.
Okay, so at this time, we will move to the voting portion of the meeting. We have 3 conditions, which I had a minute ago. Okay. The time limit for this conditional use permit shall be 10 years from the date of approval by the McHenry County Board. Number 2, the construction of an off-premises commercial advertising sign shall be in substantial conformance with the attached plat of survey prepared by Vanderstappen Land Surveying Incorporated, dated January 31st, 2024. Number 3, all other federal, state, and local laws shall be met. Are there
Madam
any
Chairman.
other proposed conditions?
Madam Chairman, I move acceptance of the conditions as proposed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the conditions. Discussion? Hearing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Jers?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes,
And I'll vote yes, so the conditions are approved 7-0.
Madam Chairman, I move acceptance of the petition, both for the conditional use and the variances, subject to the conditions.
second.
And second by Ms. Donner. Discussion, Mr. Eldridge?
My comments on the other petition are really the same I have here. If they were asking for a variations, and had to build the sign, I would oppose the variations. But since this is a sign that's been there for 25 years, or maybe even longer in this case, I am going to support the request for variances, and I consider the conditional use to permit the sign to move to digital, as I said before, a no-brainer. So I support all parts of this petition.
Ms. Gardner?
I don't have much more to add. I just like to see these signs in the county. And Ms. Donner, there is one on 31, just,
The 31 one.
Full Valley Road, sorry.
not
Yes,
the Full
that's
Valley
right. I
Road
mentioned
one. I'm
that.
talking about the one that's almost in Algonquin.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was the
okay,
one
I
that was
don't go
opposed.
down that way
So
much,
that
though.
that's been up for a long time. I really enjoy looking at both of them. So I'm in favor of this petition. Thank you.
Mr. Cozen?
I have no comment.
Mr. Schnabel?
I will be supporting this petition as well.
Mr. Jers?
Ditto.
Ms. Donner?
Ditto. Yes.
And I will say, I am not a fan at all of billboards. I wish we didn't have them at all, because I think it mars the landscape. But it's a fact of life. And this request is just to replace one with a digital display. And so I agree with Mr. Eldridge again on his comments. So I'll call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Jers?
Yes.
Ms. Donner?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so this will go to the county board, 7-0 approval. At this time, this hearing is closed. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all very much.
And if Ms. Gardner and Ms. Donner ever want to join us for our future hearings?
Yeah, it's
talk
more
about
welcome.
how much you love
I was the only one who liked the one on